Hello, everybody, and welcome to Thought Raid, a show where we take on thoughts and find better ways of thinking about them. I'm Brandon Brown, owner of United Gamers Nations and a lay counselor, and with me today is the wonderful Tim Denock of Break the Meta and Life Coach. And welcome! We are glad to have you and to actually have things correct this time. We're not made to go up on a smartphone, but actually made for most broad devices. Woo. Welcome. What? What's the uh-oh?
Facebook is the wrong format still.
It's still what? It is? That's correct.
Yep.
No, it's not the wrong format.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
It looks crunched to me, Brandon.
Not on my end. Yeah, it looks pretty good to me.
Okay, never mind.
Wow, you got me.
Brandon, we look good.
Good. Anyways, so welcome everybody. So today is going to be a little bit different from what we normally do. Normally, we will talk about some sort of like deep topic about things that we've been through, studied, and researched on a Friday. And that's typically how things go. But this time, I want to talk about something that hits near and dear to me, but it's much more lighthearted, I guess you could say. It's just all about this time community development, what it's like to start a really good community. And I wanted to reel you in, so I'm calling this one a perfect community, because in all technicality there is no perfect community, but there is a way that you can develop a community that's healthy and strong and self-replicating. And I just kind of want to share with you what I've learned, and I want to share with you also what you've learned too, Tim, because you've had some community development experience as well. And also just maybe to share some stories and experiences that we both had in development that of our communities that would be funny or whatever, just to kind of share for those of you who are interested in developing your own community that you can learn from and grow with. So as you guys know, as I start out the stream every time, I am the owner of United Gamers Nations, or UGN, and I started this gaming community. And we are primarily a computer gaming community, but I started it back in 2013, and it is still going very strong. There are people that are in the community that have been there since its inception, and it's a constant source of joy and inspiration for me, and it has changed my life and the lives of many other people. And it also is not the first community that I started. I actually started doing community development back when there was a game called Second Life that was a thing.
Oh, Second Life.
Yes, it was a game. For those of you who have heard about it, you know what I'm talking about. For those who haven't, Second Life is an online computer game that you literally could do just about anything you wanted. If you could make it, you could do it. You could animate it, you can build it, you can do whatever you wanted. And when I first started it, it was just a there was like an adult version of that and a teenage version. Thank the Lord. So I was a part of the teenage version because I was a teenager at the time. So this is like before 2010. This is like, I want to say 2006 maybe. I don't know, somewhere in that time frame. And like, I created a community there that was all based around Star Wars, and I had a lot of fun with that. And I built that sucker so far, and then it went nothing really happened with it. And then I started another community in another online game. It was called City of Heroes. Great game.
I didn't know you played City of Heroes.
Yeah, I did. And I think I started that one like 2008 or so, maybe, give or take. And I love that game too, because I love creating my own superhero. And now it's free. But at the time, I started a Christian server, or not Christian server, but a Christian community on it. I think it was called Band of Alliances, which I created, and that grew for a time. And I actually do have one friend that's still in my life from that time frame, which is kind of cool. And so then that tanked. So from that time point, I went through a period of time thinking that, like, you know what, I need to distance myself from video games because, like, God's clearly not in video games. He's just not in those type of things. I need to find something that I enjoy that's more hands-on, like helping the poor, or that was primarily the main, or like, you know, I don't know, doing something with like babysitting kids or something. I don't know, just some of that nature. And then in 2012, right before 2013, in December, I had a class project that was given to me to take what I had in my hand and use it to the glory of God. And I was going to do, like I mentioned, homeless ministry, and the teacher was like, Brandon, you play video games a lot. Why don't you do something with video games? So that blew my mind, and I did a Bible study, and I used Minecraft to build this entire world and base it off of, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. And I created a literal valley that was all hell, and the farther down you went it, the worse it got, but you had to walk, and then eventually you got to a very beautiful paradise, and it stuck. People loved it. And the very next month, in January, God gave me the idea for UGN. And at the time, it was called UGS. It was called Unity Gaming Servers. And that community, it's stuck. And it's grown since that point. And it's part of the reason why I'm doing Thought Raid in the first place. Because through United Gamers Nations, I learned a lot about people. I learned a lot about what it means to work together with different types of people, where we had the stream a couple of weeks ago of Unity Through Diversity. I learned that through UGN. I learned leadership skills through that, and I also learned broadcasting, which brings us to doing things with Thought Raid, where we're starting a whole new thing with you guys. And so what I want to do as we're talking about this topic is I want to first define, in true Thought Raid fashion, what community means, but I don't necessarily want to go to a dictionary this time to define community, because it's a more utilized word nowadays than it probably was, let's say, a couple of decades ago. And so I think it's on people's minds more now than it ever was. So I don't think we have to necessarily go back to the definition, but I still want to define it in our own terms. So starting with you, Tim, how would you specifically define community?
You know, it's weird because it has different applications.
Right.
You know, you have church communities, you have friend communities, you have a community of, like, a housing development community. I guess it's just like a collective of people who are going the same direction with the same goals.
Fair enough. I like that definition. Yeah, I think it's definitely like a group of people. And we've got a common goal in mind, or a common interest. I would also go as far as to say interest in mind as well, because, like, I think that's a binding agent of communities, is what are we all interested in that's common? Because you got the word, or at least close to the word, common in community. So having that commonality, having that common interest is an important factor of what makes up a community. And a community can be something that's really small and microcosm, like a bunch of people that really enjoy an obscure game. I don't know. People that enjoy...
How about the furry community, Brandon?
Okay, that's not that as obscure as you think. But that could be a community of people that enjoy cosplaying as furries or anything related to furries. Or the anime community, which is not also microcosm world. That's actually a lot bigger than you think. I was trying to think of actually a small type of interest, like maybe nowadays knitting is a more microcosm. I wouldn't say it's completely, but it is smaller than it might have once been.
Mhm. Something that's weird is when I became a Christian, there's this, the Christianese terms, and everybody's always looking for community. I'd never heard that
Really?
before before I was a Christian. I'd never heard, like, it made sense through context, I guess, but the idea, people are just looking for community. I don't know, that language is just, it was new to me,
Yeah.
even though it made sense.
Ironically, though, I have heard community outside of the church. So I'm sure there's a handful of people that know, more than a handful of people that know what it generally means. But just to be clear again, it's a group of people united under a common goal and interest and we're heading in a general same direction. We want to do this thing and we want to achieve this result together. And I would say that is what a community is, just kind of giving you the Brown to knock definition of community.
It's a really strange amalgamation.
I know. the Brannock.
The denoun.
The denoun. So, after defining that, the next thing that I did write down for questions is, when you're developing a community, what is the things you want to first work out before you start inviting people into your community? Because when you get an idea of having a community, it would probably be very exciting to just immediately like, oh, come and join this new idea. I think it's important to take some time and think about a few things before you start your community, so that way moving forward, certain things are clear. So when you start a community, I feel like it's really important to have a vision for it. Like, specifically, what is this community going to be all for and about? We were talking about they're united under one goal, or like a goal and an interest, at least a interest. So what is that goal and what is that interest? So in the case of my community, UGN, the goal of UGN was to unite people. Like, that's literally in the name. When we started as Unity Gaming Servers to now when we're United Gamers Nations, unity has always been a part of that. I want to bring people together, and our goal was not only just to bring people together, but we wanted to bring young gamers, old gamers, anyone who loved games together, and to create an environment where these type of people can thrive together, where it's not full of drama, where it's not a place where like you don't feel safe to express what you're going through. We wanted to create a place of peace and respect, where people can come and be themselves. And so we just kind of looked at like, okay, we wanted to create a place of just essentially excellence, where you can kind of feel like it's a fostered feeling of family. And that was kind of like our goal, was to be a place where you can come and you don't have to deal with drama, and you also can feel like you're a part of a family. And especially the aspect of family that once you're a part of family, family doesn't go anywhere. Because like that's a big thing. That's a big challenge outside of family. For some people, it's like, okay, I'm going to be part of this friends group, but friends could come and go. Family, once they're family, they're not going anywhere. And there's a security in that family environment where it's like, I can open up and be myself. I don't have to worry about, while being myself, that you hate my guts and want to leave me immediately. So I wanted to bring that atmosphere into UGN. And again, the united common interest was computer gaming. So like, what was our focus? Well, we started all about Minecraft. Back in 2013, 2012, Minecraft was beginning to become greatly recognized. And I remember there was a friend that first introduced me to Minecraft before I knew it was a thing the year prior. And then I began to find other people that were into the same thing. And I started to see, oh, there's a lot of people that are into this. And boom, I decided, let's just start this all around first Minecraft and then expand into other games. And so having that common interest and having what our goal was to create family and to create an atmosphere of excellence, now we know what we're inviting people into, or at least in general, like this is what you can expect. Minecraft, video games, family. No drama. And I think that's really important when you are establishing a community, is knowing what are you for, what do you have to offer. Because if you don't have that, then it's really hard to talk about what you're trying to invite someone into, because you yourself won't really have a full idea what that looks like. And people, they could sense that, and it's just really kind of hard to kind of convey, like, ooh, join this nebulous thing that I don't really know what it is, but I hope you like it. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? I hear you humming over there. What are your thoughts on this, Tim?
Well, the statement you just made, I think a lot of people already understand that, and it's just an understood mechanic of social groups. But I think it's one of those things that people don't stop and think about. It's like, okay, well, I actually have to go back to the fundamentals of this. But I was thinking about how when we first started our YouTube channel and reading all those blogs and just how people got started and watching their YouTube videos on how to get started on YouTube, they said, define your value proposition. Like, why would somebody come and watch your channel over this channel? Like, what do they expect? And I don't know. I just think that's kind of interesting, because I'm just thinking about different groups that I'm a part of. And some of them have happened organically, others have been a little bit more formulaic and more intentional, I guess. Yeah. Like we're having this group for ABC reason. Come, and if you come to this group, we expect 1, 2, 3, and you can expect 1, 3, 4, 5 from us, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm just thinking about how that relates to building a YouTube channel, or building a home group, or building anything where people come. It's like, it's one of those things where it starts as an idea, like, I want to do this. I see a need for this, and I don't really know how to do it. And some people just jump right in and they wonder, well, why aren't people coming? Why isn't this growing? And I think that's a really good thing to establish, especially just for yourself, because I know that with you and me, with Thought Raid and with UGN and with Break the Meta and all the stuff we do, the home groups, get-togethers, whatever, it's really easy to jump in and just feel like you're spraying all over the place, and you get so exhausted, trying to tread water.
But at the same time, I'm recognizing, as you're talking, I'm recognizing another reason why it's really important to define the brand, so to speak, or define what the goal is and what the commonality interest point is. The reason why that's important is because, let's say, okay, here you go, I'm starting this community, but what you're giving is not quite that well established. Well, people are going to come in and they're going to have their own vision, and they're going to have their own plans. So if you don't have a good grasp on what you're going to be moving towards and what you're going to be presenting to others, other people can come in and define that for you, and now it's no longer your unique community, it's theirs. And it's
oof.
Yeah, and so that's really important, because that's the thing, because, like, here's an important thing to know, and I'm kind of jumping forward into stuff that I'm planning to talk about later, but one of the challenges of having a community, and this is why you want to get this done now before later, is that you're going to have people that are going to come in and they're going to have different ideas of how to obtain or how to get to the goal. And so you're not always going to have a lot of people that agree with you on what your community should look like. So if you are not even sure what your community is going to look like, then when someone comes in and joins it, they could easily change that. And then if you try to then bring back what your original plans were, that when you finally come to the idea what the vision should look like, that can come across to them as, I don't even know this community anymore. And they can drop off because they came in with this expectation when you had this other expectation you hadn't fully thought out yet. And by the time you come to interject that, you could lose people in the process because they've signed up for something, they're in something they didn't sign up for, essentially.
Yeah, I want to encourage that too, because there's a couple different thought processes you could have going through that. Because we had some of that when we did the homeless ministry. We didn't really know exactly how to execute it. We just knew that we wanted to do something, and in doing it, we had a lot of people with leadership potential that came to the table, and because we didn't have things well defined, they had, oh, let's do this and let's do this, and it was great. Yeah, I mean, each of it had merit. Each of these perspectives and directives and stuff had merit. And when you're not sure of things yourself, especially if you're not established or you've never done it before and you don't feel qualified, it's really easy to let other people take over or take the mantle of decision making, because you don't want to make a bad decision, especially when you're leading people or in a place of trailblazing. And you were talking about how people will stay on long enough, and when you finally decide, hey, this is my vision for this, and they're like, that's not my vision, they split. The two thought processes are, man, people don't believe in me or my vision. Or you could think to yourself, oh, okay, well, we have a similar goal, they just want to go in a different direction. And then that's how you begin to equip and encourage and inspire them to take initiative in that direction, because the Bible says that we're all part of one body.
Yeah.
You might have a group of digits on the same hand that are accomplishing the same person or purpose, but if you have a toe that's on the hand, it's like, you're kind of doing the same thing. You're providing foundation and you can manipulate things, but you're just meant to do it in a different way.
Yeah.
Right. And then that's when you inspire a toe to go down to the foot.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important to maintain that perspective instead of feeling threatened. I think you have to navigate that and just go through the process with open hands, saying, well, with humility. I think humility is very necessary for establishing a group.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody's got it all figured out.
Absolutely. Yeah. You 100% need humility to run a community, because if you do not have humility, you're going to naturally push people out that you would otherwise want to have in the community that need to be there. I can 100% back that up. But yeah, you can mitigate though some of the struggle of this person doesn't want to fit into this community because it doesn't fit their view, whatever, if you have a pre-established idea of where you want to take the community, what's your vision for it, what's your goals for it, and what's the commonality. Because if you have that established and someone comes in and they don't like that idea, then this is not the right community for that person. And that's an important mindset to have when you're developing a community, is not everyone is going to fit into your community, and that's okay, because there will be another community out there somewhere that will fit that person and their needs and their time constraints or whatever. Like for me, I am very loose when it comes to time. I need to work on that. I'm not very tight on my time. I know I have places to grow and self-control with that. So my communities may not necessarily be the best place for people that are very tight on their time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I'm going to work on it, but it's just one of those things of there are communities out there that they're very punctual and they get started at this time and they end at this time. If you come in the middle of it, then, then you have to miss out on some things, but they're going to stick to that time. You can find that wait, what? What are you correcting? You are?
I don't know, man. Somebody's logged in as Thought Raid correcting Stormy on something. Who knows?
It threw me off. I thought you were somehow correcting me. I was like, how can I even make a syntax error when I'm not even typing? Anyways, but yeah, it's good to have that established. That way, when people come with different ideas how to attain the goal, if they don't like it, then it's a lot easier to navigate that kind of stuff and know, okay, should I flex to this person or should I not? And if they go too deviating from what the goal and vision is and doesn't fit in at all, then okay, this might not be the best community for you. Instead of oh my God, I'm losing a person, and just sink beneath the ashes or the waves of despair.
I think something really important for that too, Brandon, is if you're anything like me, guys, and you want to do something well and you see value in it, you want to do it well. So you think, okay, I've taken a step. Let me figure everything out and establish it. Then I'll take another step and figure everything out and establish it. It's really difficult for people to follow somebody who is too focused on the details. And so when you're trying to figure something out, and before you have your value proposition defined, and before you have your whole purpose for everything, like the vehicle for it defined, it can be very detrimental to your ministry. It could be detrimental to your focus group. It could be detrimental to your gathering, whatever it is that you're trying to do, sitting and focusing. What I mean by that is like the group that we had in our backyard, the bonfire thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I knew that my goal was just getting people together, having a place for people to relax and just talk about life and stuff, and something Jesus, like that was the whole premise for it. Now, if I had been too focused on, what about rain? What about the mud? What about if people get cold? What about this? What about this? What about this? I would totally, it's called focusing on the minors, right? I'm so focused on all these little details, which should be delegated out or not worried about at all. And I should be more focused on what the overall goal is, because in every walk of life that I've been in, where I've created a community or a business or led something or been a manager or whatever, my role has been one of casting vision and maintaining that vision and then delegating the rest, right? Yeah. And every single time, whether it was God, whether it was, it's always God, but whatever the endeavor, there's always been somebody who came to the table that latched on to my vision or latched on to my purpose, latched on to my team, whatever, and they saw a need and they filled that need because they had the proficiencies for it. And I think that's super important because, there's a certain level of dynamics that happens on a team where in some regards it's organic, other regards it's manufactured. And you can only manufacture so much. And the true magic is when it starts becoming more and more organic. That only happens when you're focused on the main goal, the main priority.
Yeah. And I think that flows into the next thing of more things you should probably consider before starting, which would be, especially if you're planning on having a community that's more than just a couple of people, like 3, 4, or a few people, 3, 4 people, 5, maybe even at most. I don't know. You would want to consider, I would really highly recommend before you get started to see if you can get anyone who can partner with you in developing this new community, because that's a really important part of being able to reach people well, is having different perspectives working of people working in tandem with you. I think that Thought Raid right now is where it's at because, Tim, you've been a part of this community with me since day one and helped provide me perspective that I otherwise might miss. Ideas on how to word things, ideas on, who we trying to reach, certain things, certain areas I miss, but you haven't missed. And that has helped make Thought Raid what it is. When I first started UGN, I started with two people with me. I think it was Josh and Ian. I'm pretty sure it's just 2 people that joined me at the maybe, and also maybe Matt too. 2 or 3 people that joined me at the beginning of starting UGN. And together we sat down and we came up with a vision statement. We came up with what we're going to focus on, what some basic rules were, and things of that nature. And then we began, and I already had a pre-established team of people with me to help grow and develop the community, which had different perspectives. Josh was really good when it came to the creative aspect of things. So since we were on Minecraft, he was able to build beautiful structures and stuff that would wow and interest people to come into our community. And then we had Ian, who was really good with the mechanical side of running a server. And so he came in and he was able to keep things running smoothly and was able to work on that perspective. And then we had Matt, who was in there, who was able to help with story development, because we did some kind of role-playing stuff with our Minecraft server at the beginning. And he was able to help engineer a few things as well. So right off the bat, we began UGN with more than just me. And I think that was a really important part to be where we got to today, because it helped me see things from different perspectives. It helped me think of problems I wouldn't normally think of and be able to address them properly. And I didn't have to put everything onto my shoulders. And that is so important with community development. You're literally building community. You need to have people working with you. There are many things you can do alone, but survival is not one of them. And especially when you're trying to govern, because you're going to have governing aspects involved in a community. If you're trying to work with a larger body of people, don't do it alone. You should have people that can start with you, even if it's just one person, so that can help just see things from different perspectives and allow them to work on certain aspects, while you, as the leader, can focus on developing the vision for it. What are you standing for? All that kind of stuff. I think that's what I would say is a really important part before you start. So that way, just more bases are covered. What are your thoughts on that, Tim?
I think before you start, a lot of people start looking at not the statistics. What's the word I'm looking for? The like all the little detail points, whatever they're called. Nuances. I don't know. There's a specific term I was going to use, but a lot of people start looking at the finances. They start logistics. That's the word. Before you start looking at the logistics, I would encourage you to not look at the logistics. Truly, I think it's so important just to define your why. Like, why do I want to do this? Why is this valuable to me? What is it going to do? How is it going to have impact? Like, what's the end goal? Because a true leader isn't so focused on, if you're looking at from point A to point B, they're not worried as much about how you get there. They're worried about the fact, okay, I'm going to get there. And that's what you have to maintain. Right. And if you're going to do anything of impact, anything that is going to have an impact, anything that builds a community, it's going to involve other people. And I think it's really easy to start thinking, well, what about the logistics? The logistics will figure themselves out. I remember back when I was at Amway, they said something that didn't make sense then, but makes sense now to me that I'm following Jesus. If the dream is big enough, the facts don't matter. And what that means outside of business and Amway and multi-level marketing and stuff, it's like, if you see what Jesus has purposed for your life, then the logistics and the facts don't matter anyways. All that matters is your obedience. If your goal for building community is to create a place for people to come and for you to, for them to thrive and become better people, to learn how to be loved and to love others, how you get there doesn't matter as much as whether or not you get there, right? And the only way that you're going to get there is through learning how to believe in people. And I call that out specifically because it's one of the things that a lot of people miss. And I say this, almost knocked over my microphone. Sorry, guys. And I say this because this is something that tripped me up, because in my journey in becoming a leader in whatever regards I've been a leader or a manager or whatever, anywhere where I was responsible for the vision, right? I got so focused on what I can do. And if there were holes, in the process, and I wasn't believing in people, I started to blame people and get resentful that other people weren't as bought in as me. And guys, if you are creating something, if you're trailblazing, it's very rare to find people that are going to believe in it more than you.
Well, yeah, that's for sure.
It's very rare. I mean, it's great when that happens and it's magical. But I think that it's really important to start looking at people as imperfect, which they're going to be. Not as skilled as you want them, as you'd like them to be, which they're not going to be. I'm just thinking about all the ridiculous companies now, like Amazon or Microsoft or whatever. Before all the people that were part of those companies or anything of significance, before they were who you know them to be today, they were in their mom and dad's garage. They were running around in their neighborhood. They were failing out of college, and all it took along their journey was somebody to believe in them and say, hey, you can do this. Hey, let me help you. Hey, let me believe in, let me invest time into you. Right. And, cultivating that in people's hearts, people want to be believed in. People want to think that they have something to give, because they do. Right. And all you have to do is cast vision. And if people believe in your vision, say, okay, well, this person, I like where they're going. I'm going to put in everything that I can because they believe I can help. Right. And if you cultivate a group of people around you like that, and especially when they fail and you continue to believe in them and encourage them, you're going to make it. And all you have to do is focus on where you're going.
I would like to just make a quick though, like clean up the language moment here. Um, I want to. I feel like it needs to be said that having planning and stuff of that nature is important, but not to the point where it bogs you down. You don't get things done because you want to fix every detail before you start. There is a point where you have to just stop planning and just start. Like you cannot perfectly plan every little nuance or thing in before you begin. Like have your general vision, have your general what's the value proposition. And I personally think it's really great to have another person working with you. But once you have that, start.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's only so many logistics you can actually plan for, and after that, they might not even come to pass. You might have something that goes off, ooh, and this thing really succeeds, and like, wow, like this. I'm really glad that I did this, and 8 years later, boom, here we have this whole story to talk about. Or you start something and like the Imperial Enforcers or Band of Brothers or Band of Alliances, I think is what I called it. It just died. Like it's just it just wasn't the right thing, the right time kind of thing. Because that's another factor you have to keep in mind that I think you're trying to bring out, like to not overthink things, because it's like at the end of the day, when you start something, it's very likely that it may not succeed. Like it might only succeed for a time or whatever, because like one of the things I've recognized when I first got into broadcasting, there were people who were much less emotionally dynamic than I was. I don't even know how they got the following they had gotten, but like I was putting in a whole lot more work than it seemed like they were doing, a whole lot more emotionally dynamic than it seemed like they were, and yet I was reaching a whole lot less people than they were, and it dawned on me, not the right time, maybe not the right audience. It's like, it's not that I wasn't doing a good job or that they were doing a terrible job, it was that sometimes it's just, it may be a matter of like, not the right place, not the right time, not the right people. So if you spend all of your time trying to plan out every single nuance and you just don't start, then you could end up being very disappointed and wasted a lot of time trying to develop the community. Like, so don't try to figure out all the logistics. They will, like you're saying, they will work themselves out. Maybe you'll have lots of logistics to deal with down the road, or maybe you won't have any at all. But just have your general direction. What do you have to give, and see if you can get people to help you start, so you're not doing everything on your own. So that's all one question. I still have more.
Well, real quick, the other thing is, I'm just thinking about the video game that I'm playing right now, Final Fantasy XI, and for those of you who don't play video games or can't relate, please don't check out, because this, I promise, it has relevance.
This is worth your time.
So there are items in the game that I need to perform my role well, and there's a process of upgrading items, and it's just super overwhelming. And specifically what I want to talk about is that process. The process is overwhelming. And there's so many nuances to it. There's so many ingredients that are needed, And I've been playing this game. I got back into it about 2 months ago, right? And the stuff that I'm doing right now is kind of fundamental. Like if I actually do it, it's just fundamental. I just had to get in there. But the big wall of awful that prevented me from jumping in was thinking that everything was important. I would look at this, and I really didn't have a gauge. I didn't have any way to compare the value of this to this, because I was not in the place to use those items, right? Now, how this relates in community building is, or whatever you're doing, building something, right? When you're in the process, you're able to sit and look around and say, okay, well, this is actually helping 80%. This is helping 20%. I don't need to worry about this as much. So I shouldn't put as much of my thought life in there, right? So now now that I've actually taken action, I was just like, okay, I'm just going to jump in. I'm just going to do it. The process is making a lot more sense to me, even though I don't have it completely figured out. And I'm getting stuff accomplished. And I'm starting to identify, okay, this needs more of my time over this. But I'm only able to do that because I'm in a messy process.
Yeah.
I'm looking around and, there's all these pieces everywhere, but I've got people that are able to help me figure that out. Plus my gauge, my ability to just my ability to discern something's value proposition to me is increasing because I'm doing something, right? When you're just looking at a wall of awful or looking at what you're trying to do, it's impossible to do that because you're not building that habit. You're not building that proficiency of being able to discern value. And that's one of the most important things about just jumping in blindly sometimes. It's really important to make a wise decision and to prepare all you can. But like Brandon's talking about, some things you can only learn through experience.
Right.
You can sit there and read a textbook or read a blog or an article, and you could spend a year trying to prepare to, I don't know, finance a mortgage, right? But if you just jump in and now I'm not saying just everybody go out and finance a house. Of course, do your homework.
Yeah.
But once you've done a good enough amount of homework, and how do you quantify how good? Well, that's subjective to everybody. But I'm just saying, once you jump in and do it, you're going to speed your process up tenfold.
Yeah.
And I just threw that number out there. That's not in any like textbook or anything.
Yeah, it's not like a surefire promise, but you're going to speed it up regardless.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can only plan for so much. The rest of it you have to get through actually doing it. And that's a part of the growth process. And so yeah, I think the main thing is also, and this is just coming to me, and I feel like I have to go back to the original question about pre-planning, but like,
Mm-hmm.
I think on a more personal note, like asking yourself, like, why do I want to develop this community, or am I developing this community in something that I'm interested in? Because like, if I were to try to develop a community outside of something that I had interest in, I wouldn't have the desire to keep growing it either, and I wouldn't want to start something that my heart is not in, and to only withdraw from it, and then you have a whole bunch of people that are left like, what just happened? Like, here's this cool thing, and then gone. Because like, when you start a community, and I guess this is again going back onto a question I'm going to go into just a second here. What are some common problems you will face in community development? When you're developing a community, you're going to hit a place where it's going to probably be exhausting. Because just like a new relationship, you've got the honeymoon phase, where like everything is perfect about this person. They have no flaws. I'm so blessed to have them in my life. Blah, blah, blah. Eventually, you'll hit a place where the honeymoon phase ends, and you realize the challenge of actually running a community, and it can be exhausting because there's a lot of things. This person's having a problem again. This thing that we use for the community is broken. With Thought Raid, we went through a period of like 2 or 3 months where we constantly were not getting both our Facebook and our YouTube chat in the same place. Like, that was really annoying. I couldn't see what people were saying on YouTube. I could only see what they were saying on Facebook. Like, just, you're going to run into snags, and part of the counting the cost before you start the community and invite people into it, you want to know, is my heart in this idea, or am I doing this community because I feel obligated to do it for some reason? And I think that's one final thing I want to leave you guys with when it comes to pre-planning is, what's my motivation to starting this? Am I really wanting to create this community because I want to help people? I want to, build something new and it's going to be exciting? Or am I doing this because I feel like someone is requiring me to do it? Or are you doing it in a subject of things that you're not even interested in? Like, are you a gamer trying to build a sports community? Like, it just not good idea. Like, you're not going to have you're not gonna have the interest necessary to drive forward when the honeymoon phase of the idea ends.
Mhm.
So I think that's good. I wanna finish that question and move forward. Um, so the next question that I have, which I guess we can jump into, I'm gonna skip over the one that I had to. What are common problems you will face in community development? Common problems that you will face in community development. I want to go over that because there are many. And if I can help you be aware of what they are before you encounter them, then it will help you when you encounter them to not be defeated and be like, "Oh no, I failed," or "What am I doing wrong?" Whatever, or it won't hit you as a surprise and then steal your thunder. Um, so
Mhm.
I wanna throw this one out to you first, Tim, before I give some of my knowledge on that matter.
Oh boy.
Oh, there you go. It fixed itself.
Yeah, there's a lot. I think, a couple of the biggest ones we've already stated. Don't lose sight of your goal, and just staying consistent and staying true to that, staying humble, but also what you were saying earlier, Brandon, about being okay with having an open process and being aware of when people come in with their own goals and directives and not letting them usurp the vision. Guys, that's so important because it's important for everybody to have their own vision because we're all given that. Everybody has a, guys, you have a purpose in life. Like that's my big thing. I mean, in the life coaching thing that I do, one of my major focuses is helping people figure out what God has purposed for their life. Because everybody's life is, you're not alive by accident, you know? Um,
Yes, preach.
yeah, you're not alive by accident. So it's really important to identify that we're all going to have different goals, and that's okay. When you're healthy and you're charging forward, when you feel passionate about something, you should pay attention to that because, sometimes our passions can take us in the wrong directions. But if we really hone that and really think about the impact on other people and loving people and stuff and how that transmits, it can be super powerful. But staying true to that for ourselves and using boundaries to protect that is really important, and letting people know, hey, I'm leading this. This is where I'm going. If you want to go that direction, that's awesome. And let's talk about how you can get there. But this is where we're going.
Yeah.
It's like letting somebody jump in your car and you're like, I remember I was in Haynes Mall parking lot one time and I was coming home. I just got off work and there's this person that jumped, they were just looking for a ride. And I let them in my car. And I don't recommend that you always do this because you can get in some pretty dangerous situations by letting people just jump in your car. But I said, hey, where do you need to go? And they said, I just need to go downtown. And I was like, okay, no problem. And we got there and they wouldn't give me an address. They said, I'll tell you which turns to make. I'm like, you're going to lead me to an alley and shank me and take my car or something. That was in the back of my mind. But we got where we were supposed to go. And then they said, hang on a second. They leaned out the window and were like, hey, and I had this back and forth yelling thing with whoever was there. And they were like, okay, well, this isn't going to work. And they had me drive. I'm like, I've been working all day. I want to go home. I got stuff to do.
Yeah.
And then they got upset with me because I wouldn't take them where they wanted to go. And I was trying to help them, and we get into that a lot of times when we're creating communities. You might create a community that's specifically for, I don't know, music, and you have somebody that comes in and they just want to have a social group, right? And so the whole time they're talking, and you guys, like, your ultimate goal is, hey, we're actually trying to start a band or whatever, and then it's like, okay, well, their motive might be to create that type of group because that's a need they have and they see that that's important. But you're trying to take the same vehicle and go two different places, and that's not very healthy. And so going back to that story that I just told, I should have said, hey, I have to be somewhere in 15 minutes, but I'll give you 10 minutes of my time, and wherever we end up between now and then, I'm okay with that. And clear boundary. And if they got upset with me, well, I'm giving you something that I don't have to give you voluntarily. And I told you I only have 10 minutes. I can't give anything beyond that. It's so important, guys, because one of the worst things that can happen as you go from point A to point B is to make enemies, to build resentment with people. And oftentimes, God will put people in your life that have different strengths and tendencies and different life goals because you're supposed to partner with them, maybe not immediately, but down the road,
Mm.
you know? And that's a big thing that's a big thing in my life right now. It's like God's put so many people in my life that I'm like, oh, okay, I've in some way poured into their life, and now I'm supposed to partner with them. And it's like, oh, okay, I see how this is making sense now. I just need to chill and realize that they're not specifically going where I'm going to go, but they're a part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, people will come. I had a situation early on when I first started the community. Like, this is like the second year of its existence. I had a situation where a person came in, and they came in and they wanted to do things their way, but they didn't make that apparent. So they instead pretended like they were all in on the community. And then I would hear secondhand these things that they were doing that were contrary to the rules and the boundaries that I set with them. And I was like, and as a leader, like, my goal is not necessarily to begin to immediately doubt those who are working with me. Like, I want to believe the best first before I believe the worst. So I gave it some time, but it just kept happening. I kept hearing these things that kept happening without my consent in the background. And by the grace of God, Josh had a friend whose name is Mike, who I love dearly, and he came in just the right time and was able to come in, surface what this person was doing, put them in a corner, block them out, and prevent them from causing any further damage to the community all at once. One swift action, just wah! But, like, having people come in, I've had people come into the community that had other ideas of what they wanted to do that were not good. But then I also had some people that came in that didn't necessarily have other ideas to what they wanted for the vision of UGN, but the way that they went about doing things was not normal, irritating, discomforting, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the humility comes in. I think one of the problems that you will face in community development is you're going to have unconventional people join your community, and it could be really easy. It could be. It could be.
I'm laughing because we have some pretty unconventional people in our communities.
We really do. We really do. And it could be really easy to become insecure with these people and think that they're trying to undermine the vision for your community or harm people or whatever. But in reality, they think differently. For instance, I have a community member in our community that has confirmed, not autism, but what's the word? Asperger's.
Asperger's?
Yes. Confirmed Asperger's. And this community member irritates the crap out of a lot of people. Like, and when he first came into the community, oh my God, was he super combative. Like anything I said to him was immediately perceived as a threat. Like, I could not, if I was not agreeing with him, I was against him. And that was not the case. And the amount of times I wanted to pull my hair out or whatever dealing with this community member, it was so rough. But the community member was not actively trying to destroy the community. They just thought and behaved differently from the average person. So I didn't get rid of them. I just had to mitigate them and work like, okay, like I can't deal with you right now, but someone else can. And
well, can I just make a comment on that real quick? Because I think that's so awesome, Brandon. Part of building a community is when you start something and you have an idea of what's going to look like on the end, you compare what you think you want to what's already been established in other regards, right? And you see the final product for people. But when those people are right in front of you and they're dealing with different issues, whether it's Asperger's or, just whatever it is. Like for me, I have an extreme lazy streak sometimes, I can also get pretty irritable when people try and convince me that I'm wrong about something. But the thing is, and the thing I admire about you so much, Brandon, is that you see the value in those people and what they can do. When people know that you're willing to go a mile or 10 miles or 20 miles with them, that's where you build that trust. That's where you build that belief. And that's, just thinking about like, I'm just thinking about people who have had lifelong friends, right? Like I can't say that I've had very many lifelong friends or people that are lifelong in my community that I trust that much. I mean, Brandon, you're probably one of those people, but just thinking, okay, well, this person was with me from the start of our company or the start of our group. And, we've hit a wall of commitment or a wall of intimacy. Then, I rose to the commitment and I said, you know what, I'm not going to give up on you. Then that gave us more intimacy. Then I hit another wall of commitment and they saw that I wasn't going to give up. Then that got us more intimacy. And guys, by intimacy, I mean just relationship in any regards, willingness to divulge information or share something or just be real.
Yeah.
But when you do that with people, the way I've seen Brandon do it, man, people will stick with you for life because it's so rare to find that. It is so rare to find somebody who will believe in you through the worst. But that's the magic. If everybody truly has purpose, all they need is somebody to believe in them and love them.
Yeah. You're making it tempting for me to cry. Stop.
Do it, Brandon. I did it 2 weeks ago. It's your turn.
If it comes, it comes. Okay, I won't stop it, but it's just starting, so we'll just see. But yeah, no, it's really important to know that you're going to probably, one of the problems you'll face in community development is you're going to have people that will make you feel insecure join. And you have an option. You need to pay attention when those type of people come in and look, are they trying to harm you and the community truly, or do they just simply think differently? And that takes time. Like you definitely want to leave the axe on the shelf and have it padlocked. Like if the axe for cutting people out of your community is easily accessible, you're probably going to have a lot of problems with community development because you probably have a mindset that this is a threat, that's a threat, this is a threat, and you're just chopping up all the community all the time. Like in my world, metaphorically, my axe, the ability for me to just say, I'm banning you from this community, get out of my community, is like, it's like on the shelf, padlocked, it's got a number code, like it's a long process before I finally get to the place where I'm like, okay, you are truly unhealthy for this community, get out. And so like that, you got to keep that in mind. A big problem you will face in community development is different types of people. So if you have a well-defined vision for the community and here's the product that we're offering, then you can determine easier whether or not someone is truly not meant for the community and needs to get out because they're trying to destroy it, or they just think differently. And those are two completely separate, different types of people. And it takes time. It really takes time to kind of determine where they're at. And the person that I needed to get rid of, like, it took me some months before I realized what they were going through, and I had to remind because I have great emotional memory when it comes to specific, like, clear picture, clear memories, not so great. So I had to develop a literal list of things that they were doing so that I would remember, so that way I had the oomph necessary to cut them out, because they literally were going against our rules, hurting other people, destroying other people's property, in virtual property in Minecraft, and doing all those things. So in that case, that they were actively trying to destroy the community. but I had other people that just annoy the community. And that's another problem you're going to face. You're going to have people that are going to come to you and they're going to complain.
Called trolls.
Yeah. Well, but specifically because some trolls are toxic and some trolls are just misguided. And so you're going to have people that are going to come to you and they're going to complain to you about other people. That's going to be a problem that you're going to face. They're going to say, well, this person did this and that person did that. That's going to be a normal problem in community development that I guarantee will come to you. When that happens, don't solve their problem for them regarding the other person. Just save yourself the what's the word? The pressure. Save yourself the weight. Get them to solve the problem they have with the other person directly, and then pay attention to the results of them doing that. How does it go? Did they solve the issue? Great, good. No longer a problem. Move on. Is it still an issue? Okay, pay a little bit more attention, but it never solve. And this is more than just a community development thing. This is a life advice thing. Don't solve other people's problems for them when it comes to, I mean, for a lot of things, but especially when it comes to another person. Like, people tend to see what someone else is doing and then imagine their motive behind it, and they'll come up with all these things. And if you solve that problem for them, you won't solve their mindset that brought them to being irritated by that person in the first place. They will still have their biased beliefs. They will still have their anxieties, angers, and resentments. It's just you temporarily put a Band-Aid on the problem. However, if they solve the problem with another community member themselves, now that one, you're no longer accountable for the process, so that weight's not on your shoulders, and two, they can really get to know the person that's irritating them and really heal and not be bothered the second time they go through it, because people do the same thing over and over and over again, trust me. But I'm recognizing I've got a lot still in me and not a lot of time. Oh no.
Round 2 tomorrow, Brandon.
I think we're gonna have to have a round 2. Oh man, I didn't realize how much could come out of these questions. My God, it's still coming.
You know, it's just such a big thing, man. And you know, oddly, I think it's cool that God put this on your heart to talk about, because it's something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. But I'm like, it's such a big thing because there's so many facets of it, you know.
Well, heck, we're going to have some more stuff to talk about tomorrow. It's going to be great. But yeah, I think I'm going to end it there. Tomorrow, I'd like to continue going down. We'll briefly touch on what a community is again, just for those who are going to come in for the first time tomorrow. But I want to then go over more common problems that you'll face. What is your role as the leader in a community? Because that's really important to have defined. And then go into things like how do you handle difficult people in the community? Like really breaking that down a little bit more, because that's one of the biggest things you're going to have to deal with forever and always in a community is difficult people. And the degree of which you have to handle that will depend on how big the community is, granted, but still, that will have to happen. So we'll save that for tomorrow.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, I'm enjoying this. I'm loving this. I hope people really get a lot out of this when they come to see this video later and today. So, do you have any parting thoughts before I close out tonight?
No.
Okay. Cool. Well, I want to thank you guys for watching tonight. It's been a lot of fun. We broadcast every week on Mondays, Fridays, and Saturdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we will be live again tomorrow, Saturday, at 4 p.m. We'd love to have you there for that. And if this stream has meant a lot to you, I want to again encourage you into investing into Thought Raid. We have a fully fleshed out Patreon with different tiers of subscription. We are looking to hit a total goal of $25,000 per month, which will allow us to hire a full-time staff. It will enable us to increase the quality of our streams, to get better videos to you guys, be able to upgrade our equipment, so that's also better too. It will open us the door for us to be able to travel, so we can do stuff like this live. So if you are really enjoying this and you would like us to come to your town and speak to a live audience there, we would be able to do that. But we will need your financial support to accomplish that. So please do consider investing into us. We have tiers as low as $1. We would love any amount of support you'd love to like to give us. So please consider that. And otherwise, I want to thank you guys for watching. And we'll see you once more tomorrow, 4 p.m. You guys have a good night.